That house is basically a destruction. There's nothing in there. There's nothing happening in that one.
Every drive through the neighborhood, a stark reminder.
You can see right through, the walls are gone. On our street, there's probably 5 or 6 homes where, the front door isn't even in on that. Nothing's happened there. If you just follow me right here.
And it's not just the homes frozen in time.
This is a major escape route. If the flood comes from that side and these people here are trying to get away, well, they're blocked. They can't get through.
Roads and dikes still scarred a year later. Last year's floods forced close to 20,000 people from their homes, killed 5 people, washed away houses, roads, bridges, and inundated vital agricultural land, including Dave Martin's chicken farm. 40,000 animals were lost. The water is gone, but the rebuilding continues.
So we fixed this.
Between securing some government assistance, insurance money, a bank loan for the shortfall,
so much cable, so much wiring, it's coming along.
And dealing with supply chain delays that saw a vital piece of equipment ordered last November arrive last week, his barn still has no chickens. And he considers himself lucky, actually able to secure money to carry on.
The folks around me, the other farmers in here, that would be a common thread you're going to find, that the disaster financial has not been enough to help rebuild their homes so they can get their lives started.
For other farmers, other frustrations. These fields were full of 14-year-old blueberry bushes. They rotted under all the water.
We'll lose everything, right, within one day, right?
Hanomansing Dillon says the money he has received isn't close to cover replanting costs, let alone the next few years until they can get new plants producing.
The plant need fertilizer, chemicals, everything, right, pruning, right? And we will spend from my pocket.
The province says it has provided 370 farmers with payments totaling $55 million so far, promising to continue to provide support, adding that in total more than $900 million will be spent on flood recovery in BC by next spring. Some of that money led to a celebration for the Shakin Indian Band, isolated since the floods, after a vital highway reopened last week thanks to some temporary fixes. Still, frustration remains.
We should be able to have that ability to move around within our territory and make a new home without having to go through a whole pile of hoops to get there.
We're a long ways from being recovered.
For the mayor of Princeton, the federal government is the target of his frustration. It has so far sent a fraction of the $5 billion promised.
Do I think the federal government's come to the table in the same way that the province has? Not a chance.
The community was devastated. The downtown core remains on a boil water advisory. Many, like Leanne Schumann and her neighbors, still haven't been able to go home.
My dresser was right where you're standing there with my TV.
The Red Cross says 1,000 British Columbians are still receiving support for things like housing. Schumann is waiting for this temporary housing to be finished.
And I keep asking them how, every time I see somebody in here working, I'm like, so does that mean we get to move back in soon? And they're like, I don't know.
But even for those who have returned home, lingering trauma.
Every time that river rises, my doctors had to prescribe me Ativan because I have a panic attack, right? It's scary.
A fear made worse by a lack of confidence. Enough has been done to stop it from happening again. Abbotsford has put forward a $2 billion proposal to improve flood mitigation, but it relies on money from Ottawa.
I would say I think there's been quite some talk. I don't think much has been fixed, unfortunately.
Some experts say current proposals fail to look at options beyond the ones that have failed before, now facing even greater strain from climate change, while coordination between levels of government is lacking.
Coming up with an integrated water management plan requires a lot of thinking across different silos, and I think that's why it's been taking a very long time.
Dave Martins is hopeful he can get chickens back in his barn early next year. But in the meantime, he's created high ground above last year's flood level for himself and neighbors in case.
I helped somebody else move some product, and we were able to get material, and we just made a secure spot safe for us.
So, Susie, so much frustration from the residents there. What are various levels of government saying about, the timelines to make any major changes to these flood protections?
Well, that is the question, of course, everyone we spoke to wanted an answer to their frustration. There isn't a concrete timeline. The province says they will release what they call a provincial-scale flood mitigation strategy in the springtime, while the federal government says it has formed a number of committees to look at all of the options to figure out how to spend the billions of dollars it has promised so far.
So what are some of the complications these governments say they're dealing with?
Well, of course, overall, there are so many options, so many opinions on exactly what to do. In the case of Abbotsford, for instance, of course, that was a lake. Some people are suggesting maybe allow some of that water to come back, but that involves relocating people, buying some land out. That's a difficult process. The other issue is this isn't just a Canadian problem. Much of that water came from the United States, which means actions will likely be needed on the U.S. side of the border as well.
All right, Susie De Silva in Vancouver, thank you.
Thank you.